What's up, y'all? Back from my 2-week vacation in Captiva Island in Florida. If you are unfamiliar with it, get familiar. Actually, don't go there. It doesn't exist. Didn't even mention it. Um, no, it's a beautiful area. Um, as you know, Fort Myers and that area, Sanibel and Captiva, got hit pretty hard last year, real hard last year, with a hurricane. So it's also a great place to support and put a little bit of money there while they're trying to return and get things back. So things are starting to green up, and you can absolutely see the recovery efforts and some things coming back, and it's amazing what they've done actually in a year. Um, so welcome back, James Buffington. I hope you guys are enjoying some of these lessons. If you're unsure exactly where this is going right now, or what's going on with JB, this is the fifth video that I've done in the last couple weeks. And so, well, I guess I've been gone for a couple weeks, but in the last month or two, and my intention is to get several of these out per week, get going on, so they'll start out as videos and things on YouTube and Facebook, and eventually we'll build this into a podcast. And what I'd like to do is get eventually some courses and some more opportunities to actually do some training personally or in groups with me, and kind of revive that to some degree, but in this new world digital aspect of things, and trying to branch out in being able to knock some of this stuff out in the early morning, and once I get it built, help it work for me and for you uh a little bit more with just maintenance. So today what I'd like to talk about, it is almost time, right? It's almost time for Christmas and New Year's resolutions. um so as we jump into the New Year's resolutions, what happens, right? We set that aggressive goal, right? Pack out the gym and crush it for like 2 weeks again, right? So let's not do it again. Let me provide you a little bit of information here that'll help you have a better experience with your 2024 resolution. Um, so how to set yourself up with success for your New Year's resolution. Up first, sponsors. I have sponsors already. Well, kind of. So without paid sponsors yet, I have my own businesses. So I'm taking time away from those to pull off things like this. So the way I see it, my businesses are sponsoring this. The root beer stand at Indian Lake. Folks, come check out this place. It's a 1950s style drive-in root beer stand. Very iconic, very cool. We're excited to get this thing off the ground. We got it off the ground last year, and then we're going to be perfecting a few things and improving this year. So literally feel like you flash back to the 1950s, from the music playing to the specials involved, and the food served, and all that. Awesome hot dogs and burgers and things like that. Fresh cut fries. There's also batting cages and an 18-hole putt course. I've learned a lot taking on this challenge, if you will, and this opportunity. If we can make it that, and we could really use your support this year. We're pretty much a seasonal thing around the lake, for the summertime. So we'll be back open end of February. We have a boat show at Indian Lake the first week, usually in March. So look forward to that. Also, Ohio Realty, that is my brokerage, and where I hold the license for James Buffington to sell your home. So if you're looking to sell a home or come out and get a lake house here at Indian Lake in the central Ohio area, I have firsthand experience in almost 20 years working as an agent, licensed in central Ohio. I'm involved in and done my own multifamily and single family investments, residential acquisitions. So there's a lot of fluff in the industry, as you may or may not know. Everybody wants to talk about their marketing scheme and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of fluff. So just get the buff, and we'll save you some money and some time and some agitation likely as well. So skip the fluff, go with the buff. And lastly, Buckeye Cleaning Service and Concierge. There are a handful of you that already use me, and you know what we get into, but it's house cleaning. We also clean boats and docks. We do light lawn care and maintenance, along with customizable touches that are great for vacation homes and Airbnb style rentals. For example, we can stock some firewood, bring you a little drink kit, or maybe a Bloody Mary packet or something like that for your future guests or renters. Um, so if you'd like to connect with or ask any questions about those, feel free to reach out. All right, resolutions. Why do we often get started on a resolution at the beginning of the year, right? We jump in, we jump all in. We might even get ahead of time and ask our parents for a few gifts that are involved in that, right? We might jump on our spouse and talk about getting or reviving the gym membership and those kind of things, right? But we jump on strong and then it fizzles out. Why? So first, your why is not in check, right? We talked a little bit about this. I think it was lesson 1. Your why are the things that will allow you to work beyond, go the extra route, go the extra mile, do the thing that's uncomfortable when you might not do it just for you, right? So you might go the extra mile for your children or your spouse that you might not go for you. Make that your why. So don't just say, well, I'd like to lose 30 pounds. Well, a lot of people would like to lose 30 pounds, but it's only the people who have a good why, reason, and motivation, and proper planning and execution, that are going to do it. So let's start with your why. Your why is one of the most important things. That's your motivation. That's the reason you get up or go to any part of acquiring this desire. The second thing is you're wasting your time. You are wasting your time with these fad diets and these plans that are not designed for you. If you're over 25 or 30 years old and you've been active, you probably have tears or breaks and past injuries, that you're still struggling through every now and then. You probably all have individual things, or conditions that you have to work around. There's often not just a blanket program that's going to work. Can it work for most and those who apply it? Sure. But especially those that involve these high intensity workouts that are trying to get you to burn as many calories as they can in the smallest unit of time. If your body can't do that and it smokes your joints before you're able to burn all those calories to get you your goal, then what? All right. So we got to talk about getting you on a plan, an exercise plan that gives back to you, not just takes away. And lastly, number 3 is you haven't respected yourself. You haven't respected or loved yourself enough to complete it or to stick with it, even if it's imperfect. Those who are close to me know that I love that idea of imperfect action. Take imperfect action. Don't wait for everything to be perfect before attacking. Go figure it out along the way, and you're gonna get there eventually. Don't stay in one place. So let's talk about a few success ingredients. 2 of the things that are going to be very integral in your acquiring success in your New Year's resolution. One of them is accountability. We kind of generically know what accountability is, right? Most of us, ironically, will probably think of a personal trainer when you think of accountability. You need somebody who helps motivate you, right? Helps you stay on track, asks you questions, gets in your shit a little bit, and challenges you to step it up. One of the best examples I think about when I'm talking about accountability is a coach. So you have these, I'm an Ohio State guy. I know not everybody is, but let's talk about football as an example, right? You have this group of individuals who are all high level athletes, and as individuals, they're all fantastic, right? They're all able bodied and awesome and strong and fast and all these things. But what a coach does is organizes all that and kind of says, all right, well, here are the rules. All right, here are the rules. You're going to show up here, always on time. Uh, you're going to show up every time. You're going to show up every play, right? Every meeting, and so on. Every workout, right. And then in those, you're going to be fully attentive and put in 100% or more effort and things like that. So they create a rule, a schematic, and a structure for uh, for those individuals to succeed, right? And then that goes down to a golfer as an individual sport, right? Or somebody as an individual who's trying to maybe acquire or accomplish a fitness goal. So, um, so you need accountability, and you can do this on your own. Sometimes many people can and do, but sometimes you need that external accountability feature, like a personal trainer or a coach. Um, and responsibility is the next one I want to talk about. Another ingredient for your success. We all have responsibilities. Again, we think of this generically. It's I have the responsibility to go to work and make some money and pay the bills. I have a responsibility to raise my children correctly. I have a responsibility to my country, whatever, on down the list. We have responsibilities. We mow the grass. We have the grass mowed, right? There are responsibilities that need to be knocked out. But what I want to challenge your brain with today is let's separate that word a little bit, right? There's response and there's ability. Response and ability, right? So what will be your response given your ability? Okay. What will be your response given your ability? So using a fitness goal or a New Year's resolution as the example, are you able to plug in 20 minutes or a half hour or 45 minutes, 3 to 5 days a week sustainably into your schedule for exercise? If it's important enough to your desires and your why, the answer is yes. Um, you know, High 90s of percentiles of people have the ability to remove something from the schedule, shrink something from the schedule, get up a little earlier, go to bed a little earlier or later, to adjust that half hour and prioritize that half hour for your fitness. So, are you able to do that? Generally speaking, yes. So, those people who are like, I don't have the time, you're knocking out your ability before you even get going. So, you're able to do it. I'm not saying it's not difficult sometimes to do it, but if you're able to do it, what will your response be? Right? If you're able to comprehend some of the things that I'm telling you and some of the examples and the recommendations, then what will your response be? If you're able to understand that if you reduce your calories intake and you increase your calorie output, um, very logical thing to happen there is to lose some weight. So you're able to understand these things, right? What will your response be? Knowing these things. So what will your response be given your ability? And your ability is like, can you do it? Right? Can you do it? Do it. So not kind of like, do I feel like doing it? Right. And another thing I want to throw out there, because I think a lot of the reason that we don't make it through um, too many weeks on our resolutions is because we are jumping into exercises and programs, if you want to call them that, um, that are not designed for you. You know, I am no longer a Division 1 athlete, right? I cannot work out like that anymore. I will destroy my body. Um, I already have all the arthritis and the tears and the breaks and the things and that I've overcome through injuries and whatnot and involved in sport. Um, so I can't just jump in and do that stuff anymore and expect my abilities to improve without in increasing my pain or injuries. So Now, so the point that I want to make here is that there's exercise and there's sport, and some people will confuse the two, especially as you get a little older, and maybe you were involved in some athletics that involved, or even exercise and workouts that involved aggressive style training, be that from weight training and resistance on over to ultra marathon style, long distance type of cardiovascular type of running or training. Or sport, right? There's exercise and there's sport. There's exercise, pushing and pulling weights and running and things like that, and pushing sleds and pulling weights, and right. And then there's CrossFit, which is an extreme example, and that's a sport, right? So another way to think of it is exercise gives you back. So generally speaking, when you do an exercise, it's supposed, that stimulus um, is at a level at which your body positively replies to it, right? So the stimulus you provide in that exercise has a response from your body that's positive, right? Exercise gives you back an increase of stamina, an increase of some strength, an increased ability in joint movement, right? Exercise gives you back. Sport doesn't necessarily take away, but it comes with injury, right? Or it comes with a high risk of injury. So I don't know about you, but being 47 years old, when we're talking a spectrum of, exercise giving back and positive gains versus the opposite end of the spectrum, which is tearing, tearing ligaments and breaking bones and tearing muscles and fibers and things like that. I want to be, somewhere on that risk averse side, right? I want to be able to continue to move more pain free, yet incrementally gain strength and maintain my abilities over time. I don't necessarily want to go, you know, and again, I'm not using CrossFit as the example because it's horrible. It's fantastic and badass in a lot of its own ways, but you got to be an athlete to be a CrossFitter. So if you're jumping into CrossFit, for your New Year's resolution, or to lose some weight, it might work for a little while, especially in the first few weeks. But chances are, and I think those chances are 70 to 80 some percent, actually, like in fact, um, you're likely to get injured. And then that, even if it's more of a tweak than an injury, it slows you down. It doesn't allow you to do all that calorie burn that's involved in that excess amount of movement, in that hour or whatever. So exercise versus sport. Just understand exercise gives back. So you want to find some kind of balance, and some kind of program and strategy that's good for you and where your body is right now, so that you can make gains and not go backwards with pain and injury. Um, so even down to, I'll take this one step further. Something as simple as a squat, right? A squat is an Olympic lift. Well, in the Olympic squat, there are rules, right? You got to be in this position, and um, get down this low at XYZ. But when you're pushing, to push, or to move the most amount of weight, injury can happen. So now, on the opposite end of that, you've heard me say something like this before. If you want to look like an athlete, you've got to be an athlete, right? If you want to look like somebody who can do 10 or 15 pull-ups, you got to be able to do 10 or 15 pull-ups. But the 47-year-old's body is not going to do the 18-year-old's body thing, at least not for long, and not for most of us. Are there exceptions to rules? Sure. I'm pretty able-bodied for someone who's approaching 50. So you take me compared to the average 47-year-old. Sure, I'm a little more fit. I'm a little more able, but are there people in their 40s and 50s and 60s even that are much more extreme athletes than me? Absolutely. My point is if you want to succeed at, for example, a weight loss goal, going into a sport may not be the way to do it. So you want to locate. So when I talk about if you want to look like an athlete, you got to be an athlete. Figure out what that is for you. Figure out your cool point, right? At your age and with your abilities, with your medical history, with your current medical issues. What can incrementally get you off of unnecessary drugs, right? That came as poor habits, for example, diabetics and things like that, right? That generally speaking, if you increase some stamina and some um, strength and decrease some weight, there are a laundry list of things that you can get off of medications for and things like that. My stepfather, my father-in-law, who's since passed, actually got off of the heart transplant list, right? By just making healthier choices. So, um, so locate your cool point for who you are. What is what is okay for you to be able to do right now, and what is not so smart, right? And now we got to get back into, I think it was lesson one. So I mentioned the reason that we fall off. One of the main reasons is because you have your why off, right? Your why is not in check. So you got to focus on your why. And again, your why are the reasons that you wouldn't give up when you might, just because of you, right? Or just when it's you. So I would go the extra mile in almost anything that I do for my wife or my son, or my mother, or a few other people in my circle than I might just for myself, right? So use that motivation to help you push farther. And then the next thing you want to do, we talked about, is you're getting into programs that aren't necessarily designed for you at your condition or age. So you want to, micro progressions, right? Start with basics that you might, your brain might not even see as exercise. Like, that's not exercise, that's easy, right? And then all of a sudden you do it for 20 minutes and you're like, right, I can't believe I'm that out of shape, right? So we've got to get you into a program that's made for you, okay, or your type of wheelhouse. So focus on your why, and then micro progressions. Start with general health guidelines first. And I can't stress this enough. If you're some sort of, extreme athlete or just off of it or whatever, okay, turn the dial. But if not, start with general health guidelines first. General health guidelines are the things that you'll find that are, 20 minutes of elevated heart rate. We can get into percentages and all that. Resistance training, um, joint care, dietary basics. I might even go as far as mentioning fasting or carb cycling. And if you don't know these things or have the desire or the time to go out and learn these things, you've got to hire a professional. So most of us can do the basic things from YouTube. Most of us can change a car battery. Most of us can do something even a little bit more involved by looking up how to on a YouTube. But you are not going to be a mechanic. You are not going to diagnose an issue, when the car started, et cetera, et cetera. Generally speaking, unless you take a lot of time and a lot of effort to learn and apply these things. So I've already learned them. I'm trying to break them down for you. So, there's not enough time to teach everybody and all my clients and all my students about every facet of how the body works and how it reacts to different exercise stimulus, right? But if you start with the basics, you're going to be able to progress them better. You're in your joints and your in your connective tissue and all that kind of stuff is going to be able to gradually keep up, as opposed to jumping into sport and getting smoked, right? um so again, if you don't have the time or the energy to go learn all this stuff, um you know even a personal training certification is going to barely tip the iceberg on the information required for designing a program. And then you got to hire a professional. So no different than you would a surgeon or mechanic. Hire the professional, at least learn some basics. Pay attention. Don't just show up and let them count your reps, because they'll allow you to pay them hundreds and hundreds of dollars, to for you to just show up and go through the motions, and then to say, okay, two more, ha ha ha, what'd you do over the weekend, right? That's not a training program. So get with it. Um, and one more hit on that. A lot of you have fitness desires or goals, or maybe have a history in sports and have some interest in health and fitness, but it's not your passion, it's not your thing. So if you don't want to spend 20 years of acquiring the information, listen to folks like me, not gurus who are always trying to sell you something, but folks who are really and honestly trying to say, hey, when you think of me, I want you to think good things and go, yeah, that worked. What he gave me was solid. So then we've got to get into once we have a program and an exercise route that's more designed for you and your abilities, and it can be sustained. Then it's a matter of making self rules, right? So you've got to say, okay, um, to lose weight, I've got to move more, right? Increase output, decrease input. So I've got to consume less and move more, generally speaking. um you know then I've got to do things that allow my joints to improve and not go backwards. I've got to do things that are pain and risk averse, as opposed to aggressive and things that are going to have me on the sideline instead of on the field. And as you create these self rules, right? I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to drink these. I'm only going to do this. Past this time, I don't do that. By this time, I'll be up and at them, right? All these self rules are designed to say, okay, I'm the person I am now, cool or not, right? And there's the person I want to be off somewhere in the future with, you know, potentially a tighter waistline, potentially slightly hotter and better fashion sense. But potentially slightly better looking than you, and all those things. So but you've got to be like, okay, I want this look. I want to, I don't need to be this, I don't need to be that, but I kind of want this. Okay, well, whatever that is, and whatever that type of person generally does, right? When you see that type of person, what do they do in their lives? Are they never working out, right? Are they eating whatever they want to, drinking whatever they want to, whenever they want to? Or do they pay attention to what they're doing? Are they athletes themselves? So again, this gets back into, okay, if I'm going from a person who cannot do one pull up and can barely pull off walking a mile, right, without being overworked, then to a person who's more fit, well, maybe I've got to be able to work myself up to doing a few pull-ups, right? Or maybe a few assisted pull-ups, and being able to accomplish, walking and jogging a mile within 10 or 15 minutes, right? So you incrementally get these things up. And as you improve your ability in those exercises, not necessarily sports, as you micro improve or progress your exercises, you become that future person. And as you are able to do more, I use pull-ups as an example. As you're able to do more pull-ups, you're bridging that gap and you're attaining the physical traits or desires that you're after. But it doesn't happen without the proper food intake, the proper exercise output, not doing things that are going to smoke you and have you on the sidelines or in the pit crew, right? I need to have you in the race and on the field. So I'd rather have you in the race and on the field doing what seem like easy exercises than to jump into something like CrossFit, for example, and be smoked within a few weeks and then be right back to, now I can't, do the movements to burn the calories. So there you have it. Your future you. What would that future you have done or be doing to maintain that look, not the look you are now? And I'm using look because generally speaking, even if it's a health issue or concern, generally speaking, you're going to look and feel better when you accomplish that too. So I'm using looks, but it's also internal health things that you don't necessarily see. So in real estate, for example, they say no risk it, no biscuit, right? You don't figure out a way to take 20 or 25% of some money and put it down on a property and massage it a little bit and maybe think forward and get in an area that's not overpriced already, but it's got some potential to come up and all those kind of things, right? If you take that risk, sometimes you can receive a pretty good return. And in most other things, right? No work completed, no results attained, right? So same in exercise. No comprehension of how this stuff works, at least on a minimal basic level. No work put in the exercise, and no application of self rules, which is usually involved in what we eat and consume. Um, the results aren't going to be attained, right? So you've got to do the work, understand what you're doing, have the motivation, the why, right? And let those things build on top of one another. So it's persistence, maintaining, go, hold your ground, fight, win. But think of this too. Step every little step and win every little battle, right? Until you've climbed the mountain. So focus on that one little battle, that one little step. Don't focus on, of course, we want to have the goal, but don't focus on the end point. Focus on where you are now and follow the plan. Adjust the plan, right? And keep stepping up to the future you that you want to be, which is your resolution. Love you guys. See you next time.